So this is us going to talk Cytiva, but together with Tacton. And yeah, let's go. Gustav, please start. Who are you?
My name is Gustav, obviously. I'm the functional owner of Sales Configurator at Cytiva. And that basically means solutions, maintenance processes, end user training and support processes. And I lead a team that we decided to call the Configurator team, that are 5 engineers who are accountable for maintenance and new product implementation in Tacton CPQ.
Yes, and I was brought into this project to be the project manager, but I think maybe you picked me because I'm also into change management, which is an important part of introducing this type of solution.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see. And
I'm Anders, so I'm part of this as the Tacton product manager. I brought with me into this engagement team. We were me and 7 solutions consultants working tightly with Cytiva to sort of achieve the things we're going to look at here.
So what is Cytiva? You might ask.
Cytiva is a lot, actually, and I will not introduce the entire business, but on a high level, we have many business areas, and our mission is essentially to support our customers in biopharma during research and development and also manufacturing of vaccines and treatments. And what we see here is one customer process where we use our sales configurator today to sell product, to enable aftermarket services, and also to feed manufacturing with our sales bomb to ensure they can manufacture what we quoted and sold, which is a great thing. And this is very important because our customers are operating in a very regulated environment, and we can't really have defects here. We need to ensure that we run a very tight ship. This type of process is called the MAB process. And this is where our customers will produce monoclonal antibodies, which are biomolecules used for cancer treatments and also vaccines. And this is where we see a lot of instruments and products and services that we sell through Tacton CPQ. If we move up a bit and look at Cytiva as a whole, we have about 15,000 associates today in 40 countries. We have 4 key hubs across the globe, and more than 4,000 commercial associates that are serving customers in more than 100 countries. We have 36 manufacturing sites, and we have deployed more than 100 Flex Factory and Cubio sites, which are essentially factory in a box, modular manufacturing sites that we can tweak according to requirements. We have innovation centers all over the globe, and customers are generally quite happy with the service they get from us.
All right. So why did we implement this solution?
There are many whys. We actually started with configuration way back. In 2005, we implemented our own CPQ, you could almost call it. It was a solution implemented made up of a Tacton engine and lots of customization. That was great at the time to enable sales of modular products and to enable the configure-to-order process. But that was 20 years ago, so we have a bit of an IT vitality risk, as you can see there. And the users liked our tool a lot. However, they didn't see what was going on in the machine room, which I am fully aware of. So we had to work quite a lot to keep this application running. I mean, imagine it was a locally installed custom configurator tool. We have more than 1,000 users all over the globe with different firewalls, InfoSec settings, different hardware. Making this work for every user can be quite exciting at times. And when we started this, it started as an outsourced operation. So we were relying a lot on a few trusted partners who helped us with maintaining this tool. And that is not good. It's a bit risky, considering this has now become very important for us. So we wanted to bring this into Cytiva. And, of course, the backlog. My backlog is huge, and it was full of things we couldn't really deliver with the old solution. So we needed to find a way to move into the future and actually get stuff done that the business are asking for.
Right, Gustav. So you said that the users, they liked the old solution, though it looked this way, right?
Yeah, and that's actually the main challenge. This is the old solution that we implemented in 2005. It allowed us to configure product, add spare parts, accessories, add aftermarket services, and then generate an order notification to manufacturing, in addition to generating a whole lot of documents. You could zoom in and look at the 3D, which was considered really good. And the challenge was really to move into what everyone liked, that was customized for us, into a standard solution, which we managed to do, actually. And this is what we came up with. You can see it's basically the same, or not the same, but it's very similar.
Yeah.
It seems like the visualization on your old is a very central part of what the configurator sort of gives the end users.
Yeah, I mean, I had the idea initially that what's important in our business is to be very clear on the technical specifications, and that's it. But what we found out when we spoke with the salespeople is that things need to look nice. They want to be a bit, proud when they show up at the customer site and they show our products. They want to have this wow feeling. So that was something we needed to deal with. And then, that was the kind of user challenge. Everyone liked this tool a lot. And the feedback we got was, most of the time, don't screw up our tool. It's the best tool at Cytiva. There is no way you can replace this with another solution that is equally good. And that kind of sucks, because we know that we have a solution that needs to be replaced, but no one actually wants that to happen. The number two is that we had actually tried this once before. It didn't work. So trust was not very high in our leadership. We had closed that CPQ project. And I think my team knew that we have to start a new project. Now we are closed old. How hard can it be to just start a new project? So I created PowerPoint slides the day after we closed the old project and went into the boardroom, and they threw me out. No one wanted to have anything to do with this. So that was the second challenge. And together, that the users didn't really want us to change, and the leaders didn't really trust us. That created a fairly big risk of not being successful. Because even if we would have got this project approved, it would be a constant struggle and an uphill battle to reach the end.
So what was the solution then?
Yeah, I think we can talk about the high-level way of getting to a solution, which for us always means that when we need to implement a new system, we have a process for that. We have processes for everything. So eventually, we got to a point where we could kick off some type of vendor evaluation involving 6 major vendors. That was one of the criteria in our process, that we need to go with established vendors. We also need to go with what we refer to as standard SaaS solutions. So we are not allowed to build something unique for us, completely custom. We started with 6 vendors. We narrowed it down to 3, and then we deep dived on 3 vendors. Building proof of concept and so on, which we also did with Tacton. I think we gave you guys our worst product, the most complex, documented in Excel, and we made it work together with visualization, together with documents, a subset of our document package, because we are very heavy on documentation. And I think we did 4 that are like the worst documents ever, but we made that work as well, together with a workflow that made sense for the salespersons. So at the end of the day, we decided to go with Tacton. And the POC was only the technical evidence of the way to go. What was also important was your capability to help us become self-sufficient, because that was one of the problems we needed to solve, to become self-sufficient. Yeah, and here we go. As I mentioned, we had 2 challenges. Nothing we could solve technically, but welcome on board, Johanna. We realized that we need to emphasize change management as part of this project, else we aren't going to get anywhere. And where we ended up is actually, I can spill the beans. We are live with the first part of the project, and we decided to split this into two. The first part of the project went for about a year. We refer to it as the MVP, where Tacton took the lead. We supported and we implemented a number of products that are like describing the full complexity of the contents in the old tool. So as part of that journey, we implemented products, documents, visualization. We also implemented functions, so not only products, but like aftermarket functions that allowed us to replicate what we had in the old tool. And we are now in phase 2, where we, as Cytiva, are leading the work and getting things done with the help of external partners, which works really good. And what we would like to share a bit more is how we make this work. We started off in a fairly bad spot, but with the help of change management and also a lot of thought going into how to build a capable team with a big sense of ownership, we somehow got to the finish line.
Yeah, so change management. Let's have a look at that. What is change management? And that could be different things depending on your organization or your task or your team or whatever you need to change. But as you understand, we were on a big journey. And Gustav said to me, yeah, can you come on to this project? It's we're starting now, and I think we'll be ready in February. But he didn't say which year. So I had a thought that maybe 2022, but yeah, it was 2023 in April. No, 2024 in April that we went live. And change, I'm making an analogy here. Imagine that we are here in Stockholm. We have our office here, but somebody decides we need to change. We need to find a new office. And people start looking, and there is due diligence, and we find a good solution, and we come to the conclusion that San Francisco is a good place to be. So we decide we move. Everyone likes it. Everyone has read and seen some pictures, or maybe you have friends that have been there to visit San Francisco, and we all like it. We all agree San Francisco is the place to go. And then you decide, okay, let's get started. And before some people even start thinking about how to get to San Francisco, some others are at Arlanda, have bought tickets and are on their way on the flight. Because, yeah, we have decided, let's go. And they are off. And then yet another bunch of people are, what happened? They just left. Where did they go? This is a journey. We have an opportunity here. I like this. I have friends. I have friends in London, and I have friends in the Caribbean. Let's take a boat. This will be an exciting journey. We will learn a lot on the way, maybe find some new things. And yeah, we pack a boat and we go. And then yet some other people will start decommissioning Stockholm, because there are so many good things here, and we need to bring everything. So they are decommissioning, putting things in crates and containers, and looking for a train, because we need to take Stockholm to San Francisco. Because you never know. San Francisco, probably nice, but they can never do what we do in Stockholm. So we take Stockholm with us. Do you recognize situation when we say, this is where we go, everyone has agreed, and then you go. And people start running in different directions. That's what usually happens. We have agreed on what and where, but not on the how. We haven't agreed on the journey. We haven't talked so much about what is important. Is it the time? Is it the quality? Or maybe something else? The money, the cost. That's the most important. And you were talking about stakeholders. For one stakeholder, maybe time is essential. So they go off and buy the plane ticket. For another part of the organization, maybe cost is the thing. And for the third, quality is super, super important. So you need to sit down and agree. What is important? What is it that we need to bring? What is it that we need to leave behind? And how do we do this? Do we have the team? Do we have the capabilities, the equipment to do this move? And that's where change management comes in, to have those types of discussions, to open up. So, having said that, what would you say, Gustav? What did we do to manage this, to try and figure out which way to travel from not having Tacton CPQ to having Tacton CPQ?
I think we did a lot. I think we did 3 things that made all the difference. And as I mentioned, I got thrown out of the boardroom. But we still kind of knew that we had to do something. We can't sit on our old solution forever. So we started to prepare for the project that was not approved, engaging with stakeholders, subject matter experts, with the only purpose of building trust, because this is all about trust in the organization. So we started preparing a new project, working with different stakeholders to listen to them. That was essentially the first priority. Let people talk, listen to what they say. They bring up concerns, they bring up maybe misconceptions or real problems that we weren't even aware of. And we worked a lot. I mean, I requested this project in 2020. We worked easily 1 year with just aligning the stakeholders. And one day we had some type of perception in the company that we have a project about CPQ. And we didn't have that, but so many people were now part of the conversation, so it started to snowball. Everyone started to agree that this is something we need to do, and they understood kind of the reasons behind why we need to move over to San Francisco. They also felt that we're actually listening. We care about, people's concerns, and we also had to be brutally upfront with a couple of things. For example, one of the main priorities for our users was offline capability. That's something we had in the old tool, which meant you could go to a customer anywhere and work with them without any connectivity. However, we also knew that we are going for a SaaS solution, which kind of makes offline capability a bit tricky. I was thinking long and hard on how to actually navigate that requirement, but then the pandemic happened, boom, and everyone started working remotely. No one went on site anymore. So then it became the new normal for Cytiva to work remotely using the internet. Problem solved. That was one thing, though. There were more things coming up, but I think being very proactive and starting way before the project is actually supposed to start is key, one key success factor here. And that's a big takeaway for me, the importance of doing this type of work up front and not start to deal with it once we are up and rolling. That leads me into point number 2. When it's go time, I mean, we eventually got funding approval and buy-in to do this project. And then everyone just wanted to be done very quickly. That's what they say, get this done now. We talk next year. For us, it was super important to be very quick at grabbing all the leaders and putting them in a steering group to ensure we have one place to escalate problems. Because even if we did a lot of pre-work, we knew that we will face problems. We will run into the wall. And we need to trust our leaders to help us because we need their help to be successful. And that started very, very early. We had a steering group set up with a lot of leaders at Cytiva that are somehow impacted by the change. We also set up this type of more senior advisory boards between Tacton and Cytiva, where some of the key leaders were allowed to talk with each other in a smaller forum. And I guess, Johanna, you ran a ton of calibration mechanisms with global supply chain, service, sales, R&D, product management. It's never ending. You did a lot of talking. But that was also really, really important because then we kind of proved to people that we're listening to you and we listen to your concerns. And it was the same thing as during the pre-work. You talk, we listen. And people talk a lot in the beginning and they stop talking about everything and anything and they start to support us instead. So that's number 2, getting a steering group up and running and also being very transparent to the steering group. Never report amber. I hate that in between. It's like we have a problem, but not really. I mean, that's super stupid. Report green or red. Either it's under control or you need help to fix it. Super simple. And that built a lot of trust because we weren't hiding things. We were upfront with all the help we needed. So that's number 2. We had a steering group and a lot of people who wanted this to actually happen, and they were actively supporting us. But there are other people as well that are greatly influencing success or failure. There is a fairly big organization at Cytiva that are involved in this. It could be subject matter experts, manufacturing site leads, individuals with very strong influence. And that's kind of the third thing. Don't be happy with a steering group only. You need to actively work with all the people that are impacted by this change. Voice of the customer is super important in a project like this. And I think those were my top 3, Johanna.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I totally agree. And Anders, you came from an outside perspective, like
Yes.
getting involved with us at Cytiva. What did you see?
And of course, I joined a little later. You had prepared quite a lot. And I would like to mention also 3 things, but related to how we prepared the organization within Cytiva for the change that was coming. And first of all the end users that were sort of liking or loving even the existing solution and had to switch to this new thing we were putting together. So we made sure that we have representatives that joined our demos. We did fairly short sprints of 2 weeks during this entire implementation period. And after each of them, we demoed. And we made sure, first of all, to set up these personas that we demoed through so that everyone that joined could sort of familiarize or identify with one of them. So I know that you especially love Kaspar,
Yeah, he's the man, Kaspar
the sales chief, right? And then we had Gustav representing the Cytiva organization, always running these demos, so it didn't become a technical thing, and we always ran through the entire scenarios. So this is what the flow looks like through Tacton CPQ. And of course, initially, that was most PowerPoint slides, to be honest, because we hadn't built that much or implemented that much yet, but it became more and more detailed, and by the end of it, everyone felt comfortable around what we're getting, and during the journey they were able to provide us feedback that we could listen to and adjust to. So that was a very important part of it.
I think the demo part was super important for another reason, and that's for me personally. I mean, as the system owner, I had to learn every single detail about our implementation to be able to answer questions and to demonstrate it. And it created, also built trust with our end users that I actually have some type of idea what we're actually implementing. So that was really clever, Anders.
Yes. So we prepared the end users fairly well, I would say, but we also prepared Gustav's team. The maintenance organization, if I refer to them that way. So first of all, what I felt was awesome was that this team was in place and had been involved during the entire sort of vendor selection journey and everything. So there was people we could work with and that felt an ownership from start. And our focus became, as much at least, on teaching and enabling this team to own the solution we were putting together, as in actually sort of implementing Tacton CPQ. Also meant that we could involve this team in all the designs decisions that had to be made, which proved very powerful as well, because then we know that whatever we selected, sort of the path forward, technical, was well owned and understood moving forward as well. And the third aspect is that of course we tested a lot, tested that the system behaved as we wanted it to, but we also tested the processes around the maintenance. So making sure that Gustav's team would be able to handle this once Tacton wasn't engaged any longer. So we did technical releases without actually letting the end users in, and we did test maintenance releases and so forth under the scope of this project, which means that we had proven, we have prepared the organization, we prepared the maintenance team, and we have proven that sort of the way to maintain would work. Yes.
And I think that would bring us to the next topic. We're talking about the team that was built. We're talking about the steering group. I see the steering group also as a team. And building a strong team, you can do that in different ways. And I'm using research, which is talking about collective intelligence, which means people in a room or people in a group has a lot of knowledge, and it's important that that knowledge comes up to surface. And there are means and ways to do that, and you can do that systematically and with a certain, how can you put it? Yeah, systematically, if you know how to do it. And it's not rocket science, it's not big things that you need to think about as a change manager or as a person building a strong team, but there are a few ingredients that you could pick or think about. One is something that is very commonly known as psychological safety. There is a lot of research on it, and that means that I feel that I'm in a space with a group that I trust, that they trust me, and that I dare speak up. I dare say I don't agree, and I will not be thrown out. I dare say I think there might be another solution. And that is something that we did. I mean, you had done a lot of groundwork, but the first time I met the steering group and the second time and the third time, it was a lot of, I don't agree and you don't understand us and we were on this side. You never care about us in the US, or you don't care about us in this part of the organization. You don't understand. And I let them talk, and feeling that it was safe to talk. And I made notes and yeah, so that everyone felt that they are trusted, we trust them, and they could trust us. So building that safe space where you're free to speak, being polite, of course, and respect others, but so super important. So that's called relatedness, or building a safe space, or psychological safety. Then the second part is representation. Do we have the same picture? We were talking about this journey, and everyone agreed that, yeah, we have the same picture, and then they start running. So talking a lot about the problem statement. People like to find solutions early. But if you aren't agreeing on the problem statement, the solution might be A, B, C, D. So, and also revisiting that problem statement and see, do we have the resources? Do we have the competencies? Do we have the time? And communicate that and talk about that to do this change. So having the game plan, so having that safe space, having the plan, having the equipment, the resources, everything, that's one thing. Now come the real world, start acting. Like you were saying, Anders, yeah, we started working, we started building, we started demonstrating, and really do work, not only think about work or plan for work, but do the work. And make sure that, yeah, we can do this, we can support each other, we can step in. If I'm not there, Gustav can step in. If Gustav's not there, Anders can step in, so that we have a team that works together. Super important. It's called integration, that you can integrate all the theories and stuff that you have prepared for. And third or fourth, and this is super, super important, make pause. Make a pause. This is called reflection. Have a stop. After each demo, we had a retro, and we talked about not only did this work or did it not work, what was technically working. We talked a lot about how are we working as a team between Tacton and Cytiva. What do we need to add? What do we need to do more of? What do we need to do less of for us to work together? The same with the steering group. And making those pauses and make them and be aware that you need to do them, schedule them. They are needed. And even with the scheduled ones, you might need to do some extras, like bring in the team for a couple of days and really sit down and work on, do we trust each other? Do we have the same problem statement still? And repeat that. And do we have the people we need? Do we need to tweak something? So that is building a strong team in theory. So in practice, And as I said, collective intelligence. Doing that, you would get all the knowledge out of people. Otherwise, they will stick with that and sit with it and not tell. So from an inside perspective, Gustav, what do you see that we did? Do you have some concrete examples?
Yep. Again, here we also had to start very early, because when we closed the old project and decided we need to run a new project, we also realized that we know our old solution quite well, but our role in that solution was primarily as data administrators, where external consultants did all of the work, so we had to upskill quite a lot. And a great opportunity for upskilling is the vendor evaluation process, because then we have to figure out what questions do we need to ask and why are they important for us. And of course, here we had to reach out for help. I think Magnus is probably sitting somewhere. We needed to reach out to someone who knew more than us about CPQ. We found that partner and we started working on the questions we need to ask together. And by doing that, we started to learn more about the CPQ domain as a whole. Like, there are many solutions on the market. You know, you can configure stuff, you can price stuff, you create documents, you have 3D, you know, and then, of course, every solution have their unique features. But at the end of the day, by working on those questions and then talking with a lot of suppliers, understanding their technology for configuration, for document generation and 3D, we became quite good at this, actually. That was kind of cool. We started off as data administrators, and suddenly we knew the most about this at Cytiva. And that also, at the end of the day, led to that we made a final call during vendor evaluation. And that created a strong sense of ownership, because now it's our tool. It's not, you know, some VP of sales or IT leader who gave us a tool to implement. This is our tool that we need to implement. And we know the different components of the tool, and we know who will be responsible to deal with those. And that was super important, getting this type of ownership from the delivery team established way before project start. Then we went into the project, and we had to get new friends, people like Anders and the Tacton team. And then we also made a few conscious activities, to going back to what Johanna explained. It's very important to create a good environment, an open environment where we start to trust each other. There is no stupid questions, there is no bad feedback. You know, we need to have a safe space where we can discuss how we work and also what problems we have, what we need to tweak. And that worked quite well. And over time, it created a very pragmatic environment where we started to trust our own ability to solve any problem. I mean, we knew that. We just figured something out together. And no one really cared about, you know, who is the customer and who is the supplier. That was completely off the table. We were just one big team getting things done. Then number 3 is also implementing stuff is fun. Maintaining things can be fun if it is properly implemented. So we started working on the maintenance process and setting the prerequisites for it from day one. We understood that we are a small team and we need to have an efficient way of maintaining data, 3D assets, everything. And we also need to remember why we made certain decisions or made certain setups. So then we created a huge book of knowledge. And this started day one. It's not something we left for the end of the project. We started day one to create the Cytiva Configurator framework, which is like our Bible, where we have defined our standards on configurator model development, DocGen, 3D assets, and application configuration. So we know that, you know, if I forget something, I can always see there, why did we do it in this way? What was the reason for it? And it makes it easy to onboard new people, new consultants, new employees. And it also, I think you mentioned it, Jeff, the turnover. If someone leaves, we are not relying on tribal knowledge anymore. We have a way to slot someone new into that role and teach them fairly quickly what is required to do. So that was the third thing, to kind of prepare for maintenance already when you start implementation. And also test those. As you mentioned, we did a lot of work in the project to test our maintenance process and our capability. I mean, we were tracking operational readiness from day one and making conscious activities to improve, to end up in the green in all different areas, so we are prepared for go live.
Good. And Anders, again, from an outside perspective, I mean, I guess you have worked with many customers, and sometimes we were sweating about Cytiva being Cytiva. What have you seen in terms of concrete team building activities?
I think the most important part here that made it successful fairly quickly was that we were a project team, right? But quite a lot of people involved. But within this, we had sort of sub-teams working on actual tasks or having an ownership of different areas of the implementation. So, for example, for the visualization, we have Henrik sitting here on the front row, who is the visualizing guy from Cytiva, working with two consultants from Tacton. So they formed their own little team, and we gave them the possibility to find their best way of interacting, and they found their own sort of path how to enable Henrik the best way. I know that in your case you used quite a lot of recordings and that way of documenting, for example, which in the end resulted that not all of our customers feel comfortable in taking on the visualization part, but here we have clear proof that works very, very well. Henrik became very capable and then ran off and visualized all the other products that are going into the configurator long in advance. So the models aren't there yet, but the visualization is ready. So it's a proof that that way of working worked very, very well. So making sure that the different, those that needs to interact actually get the opportunity and the possibility to form that way of working themselves.
Good, thank you. So, what did we end up with then?
It was actually quite scary. We went live in April this year, and I have been deploying quite a lot of systems throughout the years. And what we always do at Cytiva is that we book a big conference room around go live. Then we take all the subject matter experts and we put them in that room. We call it the war room. Then we feed them with candy and pizza, and they work around the clock for a few weeks to solve all the post-go live issues. We did the same here. We booked a big conference room and ordered a fruit basket and candy. And no one complained. That was super scary. I was like, okay, are they even using the system? But I could see that Anders kept reporting, the heat map. Yeah, we have hundreds of people that are configuring stuff. And I was expecting a lot of defects and general complaints, due to the change, but we didn't get anything at all. We just saw in the system that people are working, we are selling things, and it seems that it works. And everything around, offline capability or general concerns, it was just out of the window. Now people were embracing the new tool. I was still a bit concerned though, because no feedback, I don't really like that. I want to hear something after go live. But then we got a really good opportunity because we had a big hardware sales meeting in Uppsala where the hardware sales specialist showed up from around the globe. And me and Johanna, we got a little slot on that meeting. It was, again, super scary because we presented our project and we gave them some type of way of providing anonymous feedback through a survey. And they did. And we got really good feedback. It was like, whoa, I'm not used to this. And really kind of nice end user statements about why they like this tool. Why are they giving this type of good feedback? Some of these things were things that we never actually thought about, like the tablet thingy. Like, I wasn't even aware that we sold using tablets. I thought everyone had their laptop. But apparently that was common. We have also been able to deploy maintenance releases without Tacton. I think we're up to 8 now. And a maintenance release is essentially an update of configuration models, pricing, 3D, and the document templates. And we're doing this on our own, and it works. So I think all of this team building and the change management has paid off in many areas here.
Apparently. You remember this? So,
yeah.
what happened?
IT vitality risk is removed, and we now have a solution fit for purpose that we can use for many years to come. And the exciting work in the machine room doesn't exist in the new solution. It works. And if it doesn't work, we will blame Tacton. So it's kind of nice. And we are no longer relying on two key individuals at external vendors. We have our own team that can keep things running. And now we are actually competing again. We can start to deliver on our roadmap that we were stuck with earlier. So looks quite good.
But I think we also had, or we have concluded on some additional benefits, right?
Yeah. Again, things that we didn't really think about when we started this. It was all about, removing the IT vitality risk and making life easier for my team and insourcing the know-how. But what we see now is that we have way better control of the data that is used in our process. I mean, it's very quick to deploy a release to Tacton CPQ. So I always know that people are working with the latest data set. If it's configuration models, pricing, or document templates, or 3D, it's super quick to deploy as part of the releases. And we are quite good at master data at Cytiva. We have a PLM system where we have all of the data, always. But the structure had been was a bit lacking. And we could take this opportunity to streamline things, standardize our data models and templates and spreadsheets that were in PLM. So that was also a huge win from a maintenance perspective. And visibility, and this is kind of what helped me regain my sanity after go live, because we can see what people are doing in the system. We have way better visibility of that. In the old system, they were working on their local laptop, and we couldn't really see if certain reports were even used or people were logging in. Super nice. And efficiency. This is something we have noticed, that when we do these maintenance releases on our own, it's really quick. It's very efficient. We don't have to share files with outside people on SharePoint or Box. Instead, we just pull it from PLM and we go from there. And we are used to work together already, so it's just setting up a process to get things done. I get much more out of the team on the new platform.
You had an example of some. We actually got.
Yeah, we actually did one mistake.
Yeah, we had a complaint.
Had a sales guy complaining about one document that had some defect, and in the old days that would take a couple of days to fix with help of external vendors. We had to compile a test version, distribute it, test it some more, and then compile a production version and release it. Now. It took a few hours for us to do. We root caused it fairly quickly, and we worked in a ticket to fix the problems, and then we deployed it through our release process. So instead of a couple of days, a couple of hours. That's super good. And last but not least, I think we feel very empowered now, going back to this entire journey. We own this tool from my team. We own the quality of this tool as well, because we do the work. And we feel very empowered to take decisions around this tool as well, because we know this the best at all of Cytiva.
So then you talked about the visualization, and Henrik is here now. So what happened?
Yeah, so this is the old tool, zoomed in. This type of style is very much appreciated by the sales guys, because it's very clear. This is an ECTA process, I think, and you can see the pumps and inlets, and you can see some buttons and stuff. And this is what we were not allowed to break, and we were very concerned about this, because we also considered this quite good. But we ended up with something more fun. This is what we have now in Tacton CPQ. Way better fidelity, way better colors, shades, materials. And that was a nice surprise, that we were actually able to implement something that was an improvement from the old visualization. And we even have these dynamic labels and signs that are being put here depending on your configuration. It's super nice. Good job, Henrik.
That was it from us.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That was fantastic. It really was. So we've got time here for a couple of different questions. I'm going to kind of kick it off. Gustav, again, that was fantastic. We talked a lot this morning about kind of the alignment of sales and engineering.
Yeah.
If you go back to the very beginning of the project, how would you assess that? Because clearly, as you rolled this out, you had great kind of cross-functional collaboration going on.
Yeah.
But at an executive leadership level, how was that? How was that compatibility early on?
It required some work, if I put it that way. I think the understanding was there of what we were doing and why it was important, but not always around the need of actually moving quite fast. And that's something we spent a lot of time explaining to our different executives, why we should do this and not something else. But again, it's a lot about let people talk, listen, and come with facts. And we also had to show that we actually had the organization behind us. It was not just me that I want a bigger team and a new tool. Actually, we have a lot of people who wants this to happen.
Excellent. And then where do you see this going in the future?
I see us working really hard now for 1 year to complete phase 2, migration of the old. Then we will decommission it. We will integrate to Salesforce, of course, because that's one of the issues we have had with the old tool. It's completely standalone. No integrations, just manual work to get everything between systems. And that's not good use of salespeople's time to move data between systems. So that's the number one priority, to drive more efficiency in the sales teams. But then the system configuration capabilities are super interesting for us as well, because we don't want to provide products, we want to provide solutions that solve big problems. And you also maybe remember the Kubayo Flex Factory type of offering. I mean, that's modular manufacturing sites. Would be very interesting to play with.
Excellent.
But I think that's the key direction we will be going in.
Okay, excellent. What questions do you all have?
Hey, hi. This is Sujata here from Siemens Healthineers. Okay, so most of you know that we work on a complex medical device equipment, right? So on diagnostic. So I think so. First of all, thank you for that presentation. I really liked the presentation, right? So congratulations, team. The journey was, I was just trying to imagine the same process what we are into now. And the whole purpose of, we coming and traveling from different places. I have my 2 colleagues with me, right? So how did you manage the data migration, right? So that's one of the important key now. So we all know that, taking up the Tacton CPQ, and now we all work in a TC site still, right? So, migration is one of the important, right? So you need to have the, your historical data to be migrated. So how did you manage with that? Just curious, right?
That's a really good question. I'm glad that you asked, because this is actually one area that we had to think very hard about. And when I think about data migration, I think about 2 things. I might have told you that we will just move the TCX files from the old configurator to the new.
Being ready in February, it's just moving over.
Yeah. That obviously didn't happen. We found out that we can't really migrate TCXs. We actually need to rebuild them from scratch based on master data to not get stuck with old crap in the models. Then we had also, in terms of historical data, we are tracking what we have sold in the old configurator to drive upgrades and service contracts. And that's the second point of data migration that was actually quite tricky to pull off, because it's not like we had really good data quality there. So we had to work with Tacton to come up with a model that allowed us to basically import historical sales of product and the configurations that were valid at that point of time. And we had to spend a lot of effort manually reviewing this to ensure it was correct, because if we fail here, it will impact aftermarket activities quite a lot. It could be that we're selling bad contracts, or we might be upgrading things the wrong way, and that's the type of quality issue we cannot afford. Did that answer your question, or were you thinking about some other type of data?
Identifying the gaps.
Yeah, and I think it will be unique for every project. I probably had a simplified view of this when I pulled you in, like, lift and shift. But we had to work really, really hard on creating something good instead of just, putting stuff in.
Luckily, you had a couple of people in your team being maybe more quality driven, whispering in my ear.
Could have been like that, yes.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, hey, I want to thank both Johanna and Gustav, and even you, Anders, you're one of our own, for taking the time to do this. Congratulations on your implementation, and we've thoroughly appreciated and gotten a lot from this partnership that we have with you. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
been a
Okay.
pleasure.
Good.